ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। So Hari Om, salutations to all. This auspicious occasion of Janmashtami today, and we are doing the verse on Bhagwan Krishna himself. Such a nice sanyog it is. Satchidananda Rupaya. The Lord here is indicated in two aspects. First is called the Swarup Lakshana of Bhagwan, Sat Chit Anand. Another is called the Tatastha Lakshan. We have done this in Atma Bodh also, where using something else, the infinite is pointed out. So Vishwa Utpatti Adi Hetave. Who is that Supreme Lord? If I can't imagine that Lord as the infinite, nameless, formless, attributeless, pure consciousness, then I am seeing the whole universe. Let me remember the Lord as the creator, sustainer and destroyer of the universe. Vishwa Utpatti Adi Hetave. And what does he do? Tapatraya Vinashaya. He destroys the three types of afflictions that we have. Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. To that Shri Krishna we salute. The basic meaning of this shloka. But this is a very beautiful shloka. First, what we seek, the goal of life. All of us want to live forever. Nobody wants to die. Immortality we want. Even if we die, we want to come back again. Nobody wants to say, no, I don't want to come back again. No, we'll come back again because there are many things to experience still. So we don't want to die. Basic desire in us is, I want to live at all times. Second basic desire I have is, I want to know. Jignasa is there, I want to know. See, Jijivisha means the desire to live. Jignasa means the desire to know. Every creature has the desire to live. You see, even a small worm does not want to die. Every single creature wants to preserve itself. Self-preservation is an instinct which is inherent in all. And that law in the jungle is survival of the fittest. So each one struggles to protect oneself. So we want to live at all times. We don't want to die. We want to know. Something or the other we want to know. About ourselves, about the world, about the people. Jignasa is there. Even the dullest person will want to know something. Maybe the object of knowledge is different, but they want to know. If nothing, they want to know how the food I will get, what type of enjoyments I can have. One wants to know. So desire to live, desire to know, and then desire to be happy at all times. Nobody wants to be miserable. Even the person who wants to be sad and depressed is only because that person is getting some attention. Wantedly, nobody wants to be in that state. Sometimes helplessly one goes into it because one doesn't have strength. That's a different matter. But we all want happiness. Now these three are the what we call Naisargik Ichha. The most fundamental basic human desires are these three. And we are trying to fulfill these three through the world outside. But what we can get from the world outside is only temporary. One who turns the attention within, saying that in the world outside I have experienced enough, there is only temporary pleasure. It is not there out there. Let me turn within. To seek the self, or in the language of bhakti, to seek Bhagwan. So that goal of life is indicated by the first line, Satchidananda Rupaya. That Anand which we are seeking in the world is actually in Bhagwan. His nature is immortality, his nature is knowledge, and his nature is bliss. And is it not true? Today also, Bhagwan Krishna left the earth when? At the end of Dwapar Yuga. When Bhagwan left, Kali Yuga just started. So already some 2000 plus years are over. Bhagwan went. But we still remember him today. We are still celebrating his birthday today. We still sing his leelas and his glories today. Is he not immortal? He is there in the hearts of all. He is living in this Bhagavatam. So this is his Vangmay Roop. Bhagavatam is called the Vangmay Roop of Bhagwan. So Bhagwan is immortal. Not just as Krishna, but as the Supreme Satchidanand, pure existence, consciousness and bliss. That will never perish. That is the goal of life. So the first quarter indicates to us the goal of life. Did Satchidananda Swarup Bhagwan become the goal of my life or not? There are various goals in my life. They come, I achieve them, I strive hard. For some years, I attain them. I feel happy for some time. Again, some next goal is there. So the life goes on in this way. But if I have not experienced Bhagwan in this human life, then the success of this human life is incomplete. When can I say that my life as a human being is successful? When I realize my oneness with Ishvara, with Supreme Brahman. Why? Because only human being can do that. See, animal doesn't even know its own self as an individuality. It has no self-awareness of its own self. It has only instinctive awareness. We have intelligent self-awareness. But we think we are this finite human entity. The glorious equipment we have is the buddhi. Now that buddhi is what Bhagwan blessed us with. And it is same Bhagwan who came in the form of avatar to give us jnana for that buddhi. So the Chaitanya Swarup Atma is Jnana Swarup, and we don't know that we are begging in the world outside for happiness, love, knowledge. And that Bhagwan takes avatar to remind us, Jivas, ki, Arey Baba, get up. You are one with me. And how compassionate of Bhagwan to take avatar. Just think, from the glorious state of unmanifest infinite reality, Bhagwan chooses to manifest in one form, in one body. For whom? For us. Out of compassion for us, he comes down. Avatar of Bhagwan happens for Uddhar of the Jiva. You try doing this. Your homework for next 1 week. Wear a shoe size which is one size less than your actual size. Try it. For 1 full week you try it. 100% guarantee you can't try. Why? 5 minutes we are in that shoe, our leg will start paining. Just imagine, one size less. Our shoe we can't wear our shoe which is one size less. Bhagwan is infinite. And that infinite Lord is manifesting in one form. Is that not an act of compassion? And Bhagwan is doing so many leelas for what? Bhagwan is unmanifest. If he had to kill Kamsa and Dhenukasura and Bakasura and all of those, with his sankalpa he can finish them. Why does he have to come? He is all powerful. But why does Bhagwan take avatar? Because when the leelas Bhagwan does and people see, then people can remember those leelas. And remembering the leelas of the Lord, their mind will get absorbed in Bhagwan. They will realize oneness with the Lord. So that abstract, infinite, pure consciousness manifests in one form, does all the leelas only for the jiva, to give knowledge to the jiva ki mamai vamsho jiva luke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. That are jiva, you are my amsha, you are one with me, you are a part of me. You are not this petty little small jiva, miserable, begging for happiness from everybody, feeling sad, feeling victimized. And by his own example, he shows how to be happy at all times. Ananda Swarup. Why is Krishna so attractive to us? Because he is always smiling. When we think of Krishna, what comes to our mind? Just share. What do you think comes to your mind when you think of Krishna?
Playful.
Playful, right?
All pervading, the Ras Leela, when you remember that.
Ras Leela.
And as teacher, I think the biggest thing I would put, like, what he taught Arjun on the the chariot. So I think Guru.
So as the guru, as the teacher who gave knowledge, right? Anything else?
He's very beautiful. Dark and beautiful.
Dark and beautiful, yes.
For me, Krishna always comes first as Bal Gopal, the nutcut Bal Gopal, who can get away with anything, and then that continues into his adulthood.
Yeah, nutcut Bal Gopal and very mischievous, and he continues his mischief in the adult
The
life.
silent
He gets away with
manner.
everything he does.
Yeah. Yes, you were saying.
Can we say that he is somebody who does everything with a preconceived idea silently, but with the larger picture in mind?
Yes. So keeping the larger picture in mind, quietly he does many things. Now just imagine so many things that all of you said. Did anybody say that when I think of Krishna, I think that he's a miserable person?
No.
No, it'll never happen. But his entire life is a continuous saga of misery. What the world gave him is only misery. What he made out of it is only bliss.
Wow.
That's the beautiful aspect. Anand, you see, that's the beauty of butter. You know why he loves butter? Because that butter is all pervasive in the milk. But you can't see it. One has to do the manthan to get that butter out. Same way, Anand is there in this whole universe, but we are not experiencing. We have to do manthan in our mind. And Bhagavan teaches us that manthan, that how do you get out this butter of happiness from this world? Because world will continue to give misery only. If we expect the world to always give happiness, that is a false expectation. If you go to a desert and think that there will be, cool breeze there and wonderful ocean, and I will have some, bath in the waves of this ocean, that is a false expectation. If we think that the world will make us happy, impossible. The fact is, world makes us sad only. And we get disillusioned when we become sad. It should be actually ulta. We should get disillusioned if world makes us happy. How this world is making me happy? Nature of samsara is dukkha only. Why? Because all jivas by themselves are finite. All jivas are seeking permanent happiness. All jivas are dependent on something or the other. How can they give happiness to somebody else? And we cling on to all of them. Each one is clinging on to the other, wanting happiness. What will happen? Clinging will bring misery only. So the world will give misery, but if I have the right knowledge, if I have the right attitude, I can churn out ananda and I can remain blissful inside. That's what Bhagavan did. Even for his birth itself, there is misery. Before his birth itself, his parents are put in the jail. Then his siblings are killed. Then he is separated at the time of birth from his parents. He is not even 3-4 days old and that Putana comes to kill him. Then Dhenukasur, Bakasur, Shakatasur, Trinavarta, how many of them? So many asuras came to kill him. And he gave Uddhar to all of them. He didn't say that you wicked fellow, you came to kill me, you go to hell. No. So Anand Swarup is Bhagavan. And when we want Anand from the world, we won't get. So what we have to do? Worship the Lord within us, turn the mind inside, and when we look outside, serve everybody as the appearance of Bhagavan only. Bhagavan is manifesting here. So our false expectation is not there. Krishna is not just in the Murti. You see, that's very nice. In Bhakti Sampradaya, they say jhanki, you know, jhanki. So that Bhagavan will be covered. And then he is uncovered and you get a jhanki, a glimpse of Bhagavan. So jhanki is one type of darshan. So we may get jhanki of Bhagavan in the Bal Gopal or in the Banke Bihari. But what is important is that jhanki is a glimpse that I have seen the Lord in my heart. Now I should see him everywhere. That is the darshan in the world. This whole universe is nothing but Bhagavan alone. And if I do that, then my mind will be able to turn within and realize this Satchidananda Swarup Atma, I am one with that. That is called Aparoksha Darshan. So one is a jhanki, one is a Paroksha Darshan of the Jagat, and other is the Aparoksha Darshan, inside one's own self. So Satchidananda Rupaya, when it is said, Sat means that which is eternal, Chit means that which is of knowledge, Swarup, Anand means one who is of Jnana Swarup, and Krishna is all that who is of nature of bliss, and Krishna is embodiment of all the three. As Satchidananda, he is of course existence, consciousness and bliss which enlivens everything. But even as Krishna avatar, he is eternal, he is of the nature of knowledge who gave knowledge to so many, and he is of the nature of absolute bliss. So what is there to learn from his life? How to live life anchored in knowledge, anchored in bliss. Satchidananda Rupaya. Vishwa Utpatti Adi Hetave. And he is the cause of this creation, sustenance and destruction. Just think about it. For that Thakurji, creation, sustenance and destruction is just a leela. It just happens like this for him. For us, one little experience of life we have to handle, we get stressed out. Bhagavan just creates, not just one creation. Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayaka he is. How many creations are there? In every spore of Mahavishnu, there is one Brahmanda. That's a description. We say, oh, that is all not possible. But when science says there is not one creation, there are many. Multiverse it is, not a universe. Oh wow, what an amazing discovery. And that's what our culture said. Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayak, in a poetic form, they said in every single pore of Mahavishnu is one Brahmanda. And for whom this creation, sustenance and destruction is a leela. It is just a sport. If for Bhagwan creation is a sport, can I live life with that sportsmanship attitude or not? How much we take it personally, you know, winning and losing and fame and ill fame and praise and criticism. We get disturbed with that. We should treat it as a sport. Really speaking, when person plays a sport, it's a beautiful opportunity to practice spirituality. Why? Because I love the game. I love to play the game. Winning, losing keeps happening. Who bothers about winning and losing? I will keep learning, improving in my skill. But I enjoy playing the game. That's what we need. We need to enjoy life every single moment. A destination is not somewhere at the end of life I will attain happiness. Every single moment. If there is one example of live life to the fullest, that is Krishna Bhagavan. In spite of all sorrows in his life, he lived life to the fullest every single moment. Everything that he did, he enjoyed. Whether he's playing with the gopas, whether he's dancing on Kalia, whether he is, teaching a lesson to Brahmaji, or whether he's killing these demons, or he's eating butter, or he is, showing the whole creation to Yashoda Maya in his mouth, or he's giving Upadesh to Arjun. Every single moment. Even finally, when whole Yadava clan is to get destroyed and he is a part of that Yadava clan, that curse that was given, it doesn't bother him at all. He leaves the body also just like that. He enjoyed even the death. He did not become a victim of death also. We will never be a victim of death if we are not victim of life. If we don't know how to live, then we are in trouble. Then we are scared of death. Every minute we are scared. So living life with that attitude of a sportsman spirit, enjoy the game, play the game to the best of one's abilities. Don't worry about winning, losing. There are goals, there are targets, focus on them, achieve them, but results are secondary. Enjoy the process every single minute, whether it is, having a family, raising up children, or working in the world, achieving some goals, or any, fitness goals you have, anything. At all levels. One thing to learn is that to live life moment by moment, here and now, with the attitude that there is nothing to gain, there is nothing to lose. Really speaking, there is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. It just seems like that, and our mind makes it appear like that. Oh God, if I don't get this, my life will be miserable. Our mind is like this. Before we get the object or the person, we say, I seek you, I seek you, I seek you, I seek you. And when we get it, I am sick of you, I am sick of you, I am sick of you. Why allow the mind to play this kind of trick with us? Forget anybody else taking us for a ride. We ourselves are taking us ourselves for a ride. Our own mind is taking us for a happy ride. If I know very well, there is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Long back when I was in my college, I used to play chess. So at that time I got, there was one very nice line I read somewhere. Beautiful line. It said, at the end of the game, the pawn and the king go back to the same box. Such a nice thing to learn, you see. At the end of the game, the pawn and the king will go back to the same box. So what is the big deal? Somebody is low, somebody is high, all that we create divisions in the world, and then we feel great, we feel low. It's all just a play. It's a drama. It's going on here. That's why Bhagwan's whole life is called Leela. Leela means drama. Our life is not called Leela. Our life is called Yatra. Jiva Yatra, going from one body to another. Why? Because we think it is very real. Bhagwan knows it is not real. It's just a play. It's just a sport happening here. No, Swamiji, will it not make me irresponsible? No. When I know I have nothing to gain, nothing to lose, I will be fully in the moment and I will do my best. When you know that life is temporary, we don't become escapists. We live life fully. Suppose you come to know that you have 24 hours to live. What will you do? Immediately put down priorities. Now, what all I need to do? Will you say, anyway, 24 hours to live, kya farak padta hai, chalo jaane do? No. One starts figuring out what is the priorities. And just do it. Over. If you go to, whenever the restrictions are gone, COVID vaccine comes and then, people start traveling again. Suppose you go somewhere, let us say New Zealand. Right now, New Zealand has got free from this COVID, and the first case today they found after 102 days. Suppose you go to New Zealand and you stay there. You know that it's let us say, a 1 week package. You have gone there for 1 week. Because you know you are going to be there for 1 week, what will be the attitude? as much as I can, let me explore, go to the new places, eat the local food there, figure out who are the people, meet them. Those things one plans the whole thing properly. But deep down one knows it's only 5 days, 7 days I'm going to be there. So life is short, we know it. It's a sport, that also we know it. All the more important that we enjoy every minute because time is less. Why waste it in regret and worry and tension and anxiety? For what? How can we live like that? We need complete detachment for that. The ability to let go and move on. Just think about Bhagavan Krishna's life. One big lesson from Lord Krishna's life is detachment. People whom he loved very dearly, once he left them, he never met them. But he never lived in regret, oh God, I missed them, I left them. Why? Because when he was with them, he was fully with them. Once he left the gopis, he didn't meet. He left Yashodaji and Nanda Baba, he didn't meet. He didn't go back to Vraj again. No, he left his kingdom and then he formed his kingdom in Dwarka. He never went back again. Lots of things like that in his life where he has kept living. He keeps living and he keeps moving to the next stage, next thing, next thing, next thing. That detachment is what we have to learn. So Vishwotpatyadi Hetave means that one who lives life with that attitude of complete detachment and for whom creation, sustenance and destruction also is a Leela. It's just a play, it's a game. And yes, games have rules, so creation also has rules. That's another beautiful aspect. So creation has rules like law of karma, external rules like gravity and whatever electromagnetism and all that is there. But just because rules are there, should I not enjoy it? No, I'll enjoy it. With the rules only I will enjoy. Without rules, so it's impossible. Try playing a game. If you want to do that homework, you do that homework. Invent a game with no rules. Any game we have to play, rules have to be there or not. Suppose you want to play cards. You'll put some rule or not. Everywhere, any game has to have rules. So this creation also has rules. But that doesn't mean this is not a game. And that doesn't mean that it has to be taken very seriously. Within the rules, what I have to learn, how I have to play, that I have to be smart to learn and play it accordingly. But the attitude is, I am a player. And I am enjoying this game. That's it. Then I am living Krishna way of life. Or Gita way of life. I posted on my Facebook today that today's message of Janmashtami is this. If we learn this Krishna way of life, that is the cure for all types of viruses in this samsara. No virus can infect us and affect us after that. Because that's the way of life, to live detached. Maximum what will happen, body will get affected. Anyway, it is going to be affected someday and it will go. For that, why should I live in fear right now? So, that is the second point. Vishwotpatyadi Hetave. And what does this Bhagavan do? Tapatraya Vinashaya. He destroys our Tapatraya. 3 types of afflictions. Sorrows that come to us from cosmic forces. Rain, thunder, cyclone, earthquake, drought, all that. Sorrows that come to us from beings around us. That is too much, Swamiji. Already right now my life has so many beings. They all are making my life miserable. They are called Adi Bhautik Tap. Adi Daivik Tap is cosmic forces. Adi Bhautik Tap is the beings around us. And the strange part is that beings around us don't have to do anything also and we can get disturbed. You send a message to somebody and they just don't reply in the time you expect. Finished, mind is disturbed. You are doing something important and neighbor's dog is barking. You get so irritated. Why this fellow is barking now? But I love dogs, but now he should not bark. He's a being, he'll bark. If something troubling, something exciting him, it will bark. So somebody is disturbing around. There's an animal, whether it's some human beings, anybody. Sometimes people wantedly irritate also. When they know that you get irritated and they derive pain of pleasure out of it, they will come and poke. And if in daily life poking was not enough, in social media also they have a poke thing. Poke. Poke, keep poking. So there are people who will keep poking. How much will I keep getting disturbed? So that is Adi Bhautik Tap. And then Adhyatmik Tap, subjective disturbances. Some wandering of the mind, some craving for pleasure, some past regret, some anxiety of the future. I don't know what is going to happen. Is this going to be our way of life forever? Some anxiety. Now, with these three, where will the mind abide in Bhagavan? So one prays, Ki Bhagavan, my mind is afflicted by all the three, affected by all the three. You please help me. Why? You are the destroyer of this tapa. Does it mean Bhagavan will destroy things outside? No. By taking, our mind away, meaning by invoking bhakti in our heart, by blessing us with Shraddha and Bhakti, he makes us strong enough that we can deal with all the three. One very beautiful line I read in Dongre Maharaj's commentary on Bhagavatam. Many of you must have attended his talks also. Great Mahatma he was. So what he wrote, is very beautiful. He said, जीव सुख का साथी है, सुख जीव का साथी है, लेकिन दुख में ईश्वर जीव का साथी है. That when things are good, our mind goes into pleasure. So the jiva goes on imagining new ways of sense enjoyments when everything is going good. But when does the jiva remember Bhagavan? Only when the tapa is there, then when the person is burning, getting scorched in the world, then one remembers, Arey Bhagavan, please protect me, I am getting pained. And I tried all methods, they are not working. Now you are the last refuge, please help me. How strange is that? Human being thinks Bhagavan is the last refuge. Even in daily life, it happens or not. We try everything and then say, as a last resort, I will pray. Arey, first resort should be pray. Then rest of the things will happen. As a last resort, if nothing works, let us pray. Prayer has great power. Why? Bhagavan is the creator, sustainer and destroyer of the universe. Vishwotpatyadi hetave, it was said. So if every day I am able to connect to Bhagavan, this tapatraya will not affect me at all. My mind will be anchored in Bhagavan. The problem is that we are not anchored in Bhagavan. That's why our mind keeps getting swayed. Who is that Bhagavan? First line told us that. Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave. First line is Brahman, first quarter is Brahman, second quarter is Ishvara. And as Ishvara, he is capable of destroying. So when we do Vandana of Bhagavan, what is that Vandana? We fold our hands, we bow down our head, we chant the mantras with our speech. That is a symbol of complete surrender. So hands symbolize Kriya Shakti. When we speak, it symbolizes the Vak Shakti, and our head symbolizes our mind and intellect. So when we bow down like that to Bhagavan, we are saying Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Vak Shakti. With all that I surrender to you, O Lord. Please bless me with devotion, that I may sing your glory. I may remember you alone in my intellect, that you are the Karta, I am an instrument, and I may serve you at the body level. If these three things come into us, no tapa will affect us. Tapatraya is only for those who are not anchored in Bhagavan. Just look at the lives of all these devotees. Prahlad's life, what all he was going through, how many problems he had, but mind is not affected, not disturbed at all. Attempts are being made at his life by his own father. Nothing happens to him. Why? Anchored in Bhagwan. And he teaching his father only, ki remember Bhagwan. You see? So we have to get anchored in that Supreme. That is called Brahma Sambandh. What is the meaning of Brahma Sambandh? In the Bhakti Marg, Pushti Marg, there is a lot of importance to Brahma Sambandh. What is Brahma Sambandh? It's not an external thing. It's a, yes, there is a process and the people get initiated, they take Brahma Sambandh and all that. That's very good. It is meaning what? Every single moment I should remember that I am tuned to the divine. That's it. That is called Brahma Sambandh. With the intellect, with the speech, with the actions, I serve Bhagwan alone. And never forget that Bhagwan is with me and Bhagwan is the doer. You see, beautiful is that whole prasang, that the moment Jiva forgets that, the Jiva is in trouble. So Vasudevji, when Krishna Bhagwan is born, what does Vasudevji do? When Bhagwan manifested in front of him and Bhagwan told him, Narayan Bhagwan told him, I am going to take avatar now and you have to take me across to Gokul. Very interesting is that whole episode. So when Bhagwan is, Narayan Bhagwan manifested there, then he said, Vasudevji and all of them said, but how will I take? He said, you don't worry about that. I will do everything. What is the symbolism there? Vasudeva is our intellect, sharp, subtle intellect. Devaki is our mind. His mind and intellect, when they come together, intuitively we will realize oneness with Bhagwan. So, Bhagwan is born. Now, they don't have anything with them to take Bhagwan across. So, Bhagwan does all these arrangements. So, the basket also is there, the cloth also is there, and Bhagwan is born, and he also has all that, things that are needed for him to go across. He only did everything. So he didn't say that now I am born and now Vasudeva and Devaki have to look around now where to put him, where is the basket, nothing. He is born with everything. Self-sufficient, Bhagwan. And Vasudeva lifted him. You see, the beauty is that with his bound chains, Vasudevji lifted Bhagwan in that basket and put him on the head. The moment he put him on the head, all the chains dropped. That is called Brahma Sambandh. When Brahma Sambandh happens, then the bandhan of the samsar breaks. Vasudevji keeps Bhagwan on the head, buddhi, meaning we must have Bhagwan in our buddhi all the time. Ki Bhagwan is the karta, Bhagwan is the dharta, he is everything. Karta, dharta, harta is Bhagwan, Vishwotpatyadi hetave. Who are we? Zero. Our problem is we are not ready to be zero. We want to be somebody, some little buddy, somebody. Bhagwan says zero. If you become zero, I will fill you. The flute is dear to Bhagwan because it is fully empty. There is not a little bit of blockage in that. Completely empty. So Bhagwan loves the flute. So that is Brahma Sambandh. As long as Vasudevji had Brahma Sambandh, he took Bhagwan across to Gokul. In the flooding Yamuna, he went across. No fear, nothing in his mind. Just went. And he kept Bhagwan there. And he took Yogamaya from there and he came. When he kept Yogamaya on the top and he came back, bound. See, that story-wise you say, Bhagwan only told. But I am just saying symbolism. As long as Brahma Sambandh is there in the buddhi, meaning as long as I think that my contribution is I am just an instrument, I am zero. Bhagwan is the karta, dharta, harta. Then I will never get bound. But the moment I forget this and I feel I am the ego, I am the doer, I did this, without me this can't happen. Moment that self-importance rises, then we are bound. Then Brahma Sambandha is cut as though. Because we have forgotten. All sorrow, suffering in life happens because of ignorance and forgetfulness. So we don't know only who we are. Even in the country's destiny, you will see that is what happens. In our country's destiny, that is what has happened. We have forgotten who we are. And people keep questioning, did Rama and Krishna exist? Are they even real? They are not historical, they are just a mithya. Arey, Bhagwan is more real than you, Baba. You are a mithya actually. You come and go. Bhagwan doesn't come and go. Bhagwan is a Satchidananda Swarup Atma. But where does, people don't realize that at all. Mudhoyam nabhi janati, loko mam ajam avyayam. The deluded ones don't realize this. That Bhagwan is ajam avyayam, is unborn, is undecaying, imperishable. And that Supreme Lord only takes form. Whoever recognizes that Supreme is one with the Lord. So, tapatraya vinashaya, the three types of tapa, he destroys. How? Only by helping us to awaken to our true nature, by helping us to attract ourselves to him. He attracts us to him. The meaning of the word Krishna is Akarshanat Krishna. That's why we do so much Shringar of Bhagwan. People don't understand any of this. They say, what a waste of time, what a waste of money, energy. You could have used this to do something else. Hare Rama. Nobody is saying don't do any other seva. But the world tempts us so much more that is the cause of our tapatraya. If Bhagwan tempts us maximum, there will be no dukkha at all. The real source of akarshan is Bhagwan only, not the samsara. If you are given a choice to take real pearl or cultivated plastic pearl, what will you take? Real pearl we will take or not? Why will you take cultivated plastic pearl? The world is a plastic pearl. Bhagwan is a real pearl. Now I am leaving the real pearl for the plastic pearl. The real akarshan is Bhagwan only. Every single thing in the world is glamorous and, tempting us, distracting us only because of presence of Bhagwan. If Bhagwan's presence is not there, we can't enjoy anything. The same body which we adore so much and, which we beautify so much, which is actually a bundle of dirt and filth. It is functioning nicely right now and appearing so attractive only because Krishna's presence in this. If Krishna is not there, the people will not look at that body again. It will start decaying, it will start stinking very soon. One has to dispose it off. And the person will not be addressed anymore as a person. The people will say, this body, the body has to be taken, the body has to be cremated. Suddenly from a person you become body. In absence of Bhagwan, this is what will happen. But when the jiva doesn't know this, then the jiva questions the existence of Bhagwan and goes through this samsara thinking it is real and then afflicted by tapatraya. So if pain is there in our life, we should thank Bhagwan. Why? Because at such moments our mind turns within, away from the glitter and glamour of the world and seeks Bhagwan. That's why Kunti, you will see in Bhagavatam it comes, Kunti prays to Bhagwan that, oh Bhagwan, please give me pain, because only in pain I remember you. In happiness, so I forget you happily. Which Bhagwan, what Bhagwan, it's all my creation. I came into this city with just 25 paisa. Today I am a multi-billionaire. I did it all. I am a self-made person. It goes on. Without Bhagwan's kripa, nothing would have happened. If I keep remembering that, this ahankar will not rise. That is called tapatraya vinashaya. Because the source of all the three is our ego. Bhagwan helps to sublimate that ego. And only at that altar can ego really get sublimated fully. So tapatraya vinashaya. Shri Krishnaya vayam numaha. To that Supreme Lord who is Krishna, I prostrate. This is the avatar form. Satchidananda is as Brahman. Then Vishwotpatyadi Hetave is Ishvara. And as Ishvara, he can destroy our tapatraya vinashaya. And now as avatar. So three aspects of Krishna are explained in this. So, beautiful meaning of Krishna. You see, Janmashtami, na, today. Ashtami, we say. So, I brought out, I took out the dictionary and I was reading the meaning Krishna. So, Ashtami, 8. So, I thought let us have 8 meanings of the word Krishna. All derived from the root word called Krish. Sanskrit root word Krish. From that is Krishna. So what are the 8 meanings now? First meaning is, we already saw actually. Akarshanat Krishna. One who is most attractive is Krishna. And this Krishna is Neela Megha Shyam. He is dark black in color or he is dark blue in color. So in our culture, we have respected all colors. Shivji is Karpura Gauram, he is white color. Krishna Bhagwan is black color. Then we have Ganpati Bhagwan, who has grey color, elephant head. Then we have Surya Bhagwan, who is yellow color. All colors. So we don't have any problem with any color. All colors matter, all lives matter. Simple. No discrimination. Even in black, he is most charming to all of us. So, one is that he is most charming because of his attitude towards life and how he lived, anchored in bliss and ananda, anchored in knowledge, anchored in bliss, anchored in service. So, one meaning is most attractive. Second meaning is, he is a dark rain-bearing cloud. So just like the clouds rain and they bring so much of relief to us, you know, in after summer, one is really waiting when it will rain. Because scorching heat and sweating it out, and in places like this, so is humidity is so high, and some other places is very dry. Either ways is a big problem. So everybody is waiting for rain. Same way, when in this world we get scorched, then each one waits when Bhagwan's rain of grace will happen. So grace, love, compassion, knowledge, Bhagwan rains all that. Whether we know it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, it is his rain that enriches our life. That is second meaning. He is the one who showers grace, knowledge, compassion, love on us. Third is Krish, means to plow. The field has become very hard. So the soil has to be plowed and the soil, turns. The lower soil comes up. So it is much more softer. And generally the fertility is in 9 inches of the soil. So that must get replenished again by turning it upside down. Otherwise it will lose fertility. Same way, our heart has become very hard. Thinking of I, me and mine will become very hard. This heart has to be made soft with bhakti. And Bhagwan's kripa, he makes the heart soft and fertile, and he sows the seed of jnana in that, and he waters it with his karuna and compassion, and this whole tree of the seeker's life grows, and the fruit of liberation one experiences. So he is the one who makes our heart very fertile. So one who is most attractive, one who is raining grace, mercy and compassion on all of us, one who makes our heart very fertile. Fourth, one who leads us. He is the leader. True leader is Bhagwan alone. And he says in the Gita also, Yadyad acharati shreshtaha tattadeva itaro janaha. As the leaders in the world act, so the other people will follow. And he gives his own example. He says, I am fulfilled, I am paripurna, I am Sachidananda Swarup. I don't need to do anything in this world. But if I don't do, people will follow my example. If Bhagwan only is not doing, why should I do? Are people following or not? To give excuses for all their indulgences, what will they say? कृष्ण भगवान की 16,008 थी तो मेरी 1-2 और हो गई तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? They just give example or not. That's why it's important to follow, what Krishna said and do what Ram did. If we do ulta, we are in deep trouble. We can't kill Putana at 3 days old. We can't lift Govardhan on one small little finger. One suitcase we can't live, where Govardhan we will lift. So people look at Bhagwan and they start giving examples. If Bhagwan did this, why can't I do? See, they did that to Sita ji, so Ram Bhagwan had to sacrifice and send Sita ji away. Sita ji also sacrificed, both of them. So Bhagwan is a leader and everybody looks up at Bhagwan. And what does he lead us to? From the samsara to Sachidanand, he leads us continuously. Even when he is not taken avatar also, he leads us. So many saints, sages, so many situations, circumstances, through all that he leads us to that. So he's a leader. Krishna means leader. That's the fourth meaning. Fifth meaning is to bend. That's why Krishna Bhagavan is called Banke Bihari also. Why? Because to stand in that posture is not easy. He's like this, like this, like this, like this. Banke Bihari. So, one meaning is that, okay, his posture is also bent. But what is he signifying? That we should not be rigid in life. We should be flexible. We should learn to change, learn to adapt. And Bhagwan taught that, how to adapt dharma to the present circumstances without compromising the moral and the basic principles. And he did that. Whole life he lived in a dharmic way, including Mahabharat war. Unfortunately, we accuse him of doing adharma in Mahabharat war, but he had no role to play in that adharma in Mahabharat war, and adharma did not happen in Mahabharat war. Adaptation has to be done. Strategy has to be applied. To defeat an enemy, if you identify the weak point of an enemy and strategize, that is not called adharma. In the Gita itself, he has adapted dharma so beautifully and presented to us. The word yajna is one simple example. Yajna meant rite and rituals in the earlier days. But when Bhagwan spoke about yajna, he said, this war is a yajna. Can you imagine what kind of adaptation is that? Will anybody consider war as a yajna? But Bhagwan said it is a yajna. Why? For a selfless cause, when people come together, giving up their likes and dislikes, and they work hard to achieve that selfless cause, the cooperative effort of everybody, that is called yajna. So it's a yajna spirit, the bhavana of yajna. To protect righteousness, if the Pandavas have all gathered many other forces with them to defeat the Kauravas, not to take revenge, not for land, not for property, but for establishing righteousness, then that is called yajna. Now see, from Vedic ritual to application of selflessness in the terrible situation of a war, what a kind of a beautiful adaptation is that. He had taken a personal oath, I will not lift a weapon. But when he saw that Bhishma Pitama is unrelenting and Bhishma Pitama is, unconquerable, and Arjun is not fighting with his full heart. That day Bhishma had taken an oath, either I will remain or Arjun will remain. If Krishna doesn't do any mischief, that was his conditions applied. And Arjun was not fighting with his full heart, and Bhishma hit one arrow aiming at Arjun's forehead, and Bhagwan ducked the horses, the arrow hit the crown. And Bhagwan was very upset that even after giving so much of knowledge to Arjun, he was still having delusion, he did not do his duty. Bhagwan jumped out of the chariot, lifted a wheel and charged at Bhishma, to teach Bhishma that if it is a question of protecting righteousness, personal vow has to be put aside. Because personal vow is for protection of dharma. If that dharma only is in danger, why are you holding on to your personal vow? That is called being adaptable. For the sake of the bigger cause, he let go of the smaller. So Krishna means bent. So that is the fifth meaning of Krishna. Sixth meaning of Krishna is to subdue, to vanquish, to overpower. One who destroyed so many demons and who destroys the evil tendencies in us, that is Krishna. Seventh meaning is to take away. These are all meaning of the root word Krish. To take away, to loot. That is very easy to understand. Swamiji, he is the looter only. He kept looting butter all the time. Now imagine he is the son of Nanda Baba and Devaki, Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya, who are the chief of all the Gopas and Gopis. There is enough milk and butter in his house. He can roll in it for a lifetime. But why he has to go and steal butter from somebody else's house? That's such a beautiful symbolism there. That these gopis have remembered the Lord full time. From the time they wake up, they say Krishna, Krishna. They take bath, they say Krishna, Krishna. They give fodder to the cows, they say Krishna, Krishna. They milk the cow, say Krishna, Krishna. They turn it into curd, say Krishna, Krishna. Then they churn that, make butter out of it, Krishna, Krishna. Then they put it in the matki, Krishna, Krishna. And they hang it in the ceiling, Krishna, Krishna. And all the time their thought is what? May Krishna come to my house today. He should steal butter from my house today. That is a bhav. Does that bhav come to us? Ki Bhagwan came to Gopi's house. Like that, may he come to my house. And these gopis, they are the supreme example of devotion. They are Bhakti Acharyas. Narad Bhakti Sutra, he says, Yatha Vraja Gopikanam. The best example of devotion is Bhakti, is the gopis. So when every moment they have thought about Krishna, that butter belongs to whom? To Krishna only. So if Krishna comes and takes the butter that belongs to him, how is it called stealing? Taking what belongs to me is not called stealing. Taking what does not belong to me is called stealing. So who is stealing? We are stealing. This world belongs to whom? To Bhagwan. But in that world we say, this is my money, this is my house, that is my property, this is my gold, that is my jewelry, this is my sari, that is my cloth. And Bhagwan is sitting and laughing, saying, hello, you are stealing away all that which is mine and you are accusing me of being a thief. Literally, we are the thieves. Bhagwan is not thief, but we are calling him thief. One who loots away, see that butter is symbolic of vasana. Every action leaves a vasana in us. One who loots away all vasanas. One who loots away our ignorance. That's why we say Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. One meaning of the word Hara is to loot. So the line Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare means what? Luto Ram, Ram Ram, Luto. Oh Krishna, come and loot away all our ignorance, all our butter, all our vasanas, everything. You just loot away. And what will happen if he loots away that? We will become one with him. So seventh meaning is to take away. And last meaning is Krishna means one who is the supreme spirit, the pure consciousness, which we just saw, Satchidananda Rupaya. He is not the blue boy of Vrindavan who is just born to Vasudeva and Devaki. He is the Bhagwan. Krishna is to Bhagwan Swayam. He is not human being. Don't look at Krishna as a human being. Ram Bhagwan took avatar to live as a human, but Krishna Bhagwan took avatar to live as Bhagwan. And that's why he did all the miracles. To show to the Jivas, the Bhagavatta, to show the glory of Bhagwan, Krishna Bhagwan took avatar, so that Jiva can surrender. So to that Shri Krishna, is our salutation. So Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. So may that Lord Krishna be born in our heart also today. He loot away all our vasanas, ignorance, everything, and may he unite us with him. And that is the birth of the unborn, pure consciousness. So wish you all again a very happy Janmashtami. So for today we will stop here. Any questions, anything you want to share, you are welcome.
So, Swamiji, you mentioned that, Bhagwan, in spite of all the sorrows, he lived a life and he spread joy and happiness, and we should learn from that. But somewhere he was Bhagwan and he had divine powers. So how do we, relate that part? I mean, what is the symbolism there?
See, that's why his divine powers were used for what? His divine powers were used only for destroying these demons and, to show Vishwarup, to remove ignorance of Arjuna and all that. To deal with his problems, he did not manifest any divine powers. He went through human aspects also. No? It's not that he lived only as Bhagwan. He also showed human emotions. He went through all of that. And it is a challenge for us, no doubt, in case of Lord Krishna's life to understand that. And that's why he came before as Ram. As Ram, he lived as a human only. And same thing he taught in Ram Avatar also. That don't allow the world and the external circumstances to disturb your inner peace of mind and balance. Be rooted in dharma and do your duty steadfastly, and you will sail through. So we have to know where is our anchoring, that's all. And in both avatars he showed. In one avatar he showed, in Ram Avatar he showed anchoring in dharma. In Krishna Avatar he showed anchoring in Jnana and Bhakti. Now if we are able to anchor in either of these, we will go through. So that's what we have to do.
Thank you.
Swamiji,
Haji.
we say, we've learned in Vedanta that we are also at above subtle level, we are also Satchidanand, we are the Supreme. When these gods take avatars, they also must be creating a Jivatma or must be using a Jivatma to come to the earth.
No, they don't.
Then how do they get the gross body? Okay.
The gross body is by the will. That's why it says in the 4th chapter of the Gita, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. They don't come inside one Jivatma. They don't have past baggage like us. We are Jivas, past baggage, and we keep coming. He comes out of his will. So there is no past baggage, there is no future baggage. It's one manifestation and over.
So my question was going to be that, then what is the difference between that Jivatma and us?
The difference
And
is,
you just reply.
yeah.
Okay.
That 4th chapter of the Gita speaks about that Avatarvad. There he says, Janma karma chame divyam. My Janma is divine. We are compelled by vasana, so we are born. We are ignorant of our true nature all the time. And because of that, we are under the influence of Maya. And whatever actions we do, we create new vasanas. So our cycle of birth and death continues. Bhagwan is free from all these. Bhagwan, when he is born with full awareness of his nature. That's why he's called Avatar. Avatar never forgets I am divine. Avatar is not a product of evolution. Avatar is not bound by Maya. Whichever avatar it may be, it's not bound by Maya. Avatar happens by his own will, not prompted by karma. And avatar doesn't create any future karma at all because there is no ahankar. So there is no future life for avatar. So it's one life. Those who believe in one life theory, they have to become avatar.
Avatars, yeah. But on the positive side, should we think of that as how we should live so that we escape this birth and death cycle?
Yeah, that's a process that to live without ego and egocentric desires is the sadhana. No, that's what we are learning in Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga. What is spontaneous for Bhagwan is a sadhana for us.
Yeah.
So yes, we can do that. We can follow the internal aspect. Externally, we should not follow.
Yeah, correct. No, without the ego, of course. Yeah.
Internal aspect we have to follow. Ego and egocentric desire, surrender and act.
Okay. Thank you.